Hello, friend. Season
4.
The Mystical American Patriots Society is transmitting to you from a high desert encampment on the frontier of our agrarian hoplite republic. This is a variety program for happy warriors who are getting some seriously bad vibes from the deranged post-Christian technocracy. Grab a tankard of yak's milk and join us by the campfire as Sumo and Cavi return to shake your surveillance, expel your parasites, and generally have a good time. Are you ready? Stand by.
Mystical American Patriots Society. Now available in 3 dimensions.
Hello, Cavi. Good day. How are you?
Good day. I'm good.
Excellent. We have a lot to talk about today. How's things in Canada?
Good.
Yeah, is it cold up there? Being January?
It was freezing, but we got a Chinook and it's kind of above freezing at the moment.
You got a what?
A Chinook.
What's that?
You don't know what a Chinook is?
I mean, I've heard the word, but I've never heard it described in something making it warmer.
The warm air comes up from the ocean around Vancouver over the mountains, and then it rushes down the other side where I am and warms everything up.
How much warmer are we talking?
Ooh, it could be like minus 30 and then go like above freezing. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's very nice. It warms up, everything melts.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. Yeah, everything is good here in the land of the free and the home of the Greenland takers. We have a lot to talk about today. I don't know what we're going to go to first. I got to talk about Venezuela. The title of my idea, whatever the title of the episode is, up to Cavi because he's the title master. But the idea in my mind is, who is gay? Question mark. Have you seen that little meme with the African fella? Who is gay?
Who is gay?
Who is gay? It was a show in, I don't know. It was an African news show, like news talk show. Like
Is that the Why Are You Gay?
Yeah, well, it was the Why Are You Gay? But if you watch the whole thing, he gets confused. Throughout, he's interviewing this guy who's, let's see, I guess, what was it? It was a transgender man. I don't remember, but this person's dating a woman, and this black guy is confused by the entire concept. And halfway through the interview, he just looks at her and he looks at him and goes, "So who is gay?"
I just know the Why Are You Gay?
Yeah, the whole interview is amazing. It gets on this like African pastor comes on in like a very loud shirt, and he starts describing to both of them what he thinks the trans person does for their sex life, and he starts bringing out like pineapples and stuff. it's all completely serious as far as I can tell. It's an amazing program. Africa produces the best TV in the world. Everyone should watch like Nigerian talk shows. It's off the wall crazy every day. But that was a particularly good one. And the guy's he's trying to wrap his head around this idea that like he was born a woman, but now he's claiming to be a man and he's dating a woman, so that makes it straight. But then he's in like this, and he's just like halfway through the interview, he goes, So who is gay? Someone here is gay, and I need to know who it is. And that's the question for today as well. Who is gay? Do we know who it is? I don't know who it is. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's you, listener, watcher. Who knows? It may be the Republican Party. Maybe it's Donald Trump. Maybe it's Mondami. Who knows who it is? Maybe it's the people in Venezuela. We're going to figure it out. But there's a lot of interesting... Well, things just don't make sense when you start actually digging into what people are claiming. What the ideas of what are happening is completely 180 degrees to... For example, Cavi, off the top of your head, who do you think historically has been more tolerant, quote unquote, of homosexuals?
The Jews?
Well, I mean, I should have clarified this. Yes, that's probably true. But more tolerant between Nazis and communists. Who's more tolerant of homosexuals and homosexualists, which is my favorite word that's been coined?
I want to say the communists, but I have a feeling this is a trick question.
Exactly. It's a trick question. The communists were way worse. And I can prove that in many, many ways. It's not even really obscure knowledge. It's just the reality distortion field of what is the narrative has warped people's brains to now where, we have like Nazis that are also Jews and then gay. It doesn't make any sense.
I guess sexual degeneracy doesn't work when they need you to mine coal.
Well, yeah, you got to mine coal, and you can't really be having any kind of sexuality when you're mining coal at the time. I don't think. I've never mined coal, to be fair. Maybe it's a very orgiastic place down there. I don't know, that's
what I've heard.
Like a Navy submarine could be. I don't. It might be the opposite. Maybe you have to be gay to mine coal. I don't know. I've never done it. Yeah, or whatever. I live near a bunch of coal mines. My local power plant, when I'm on Earth, obviously, up here is all fission reaction and fusion reactors. But when I'm on Earth, I live near a coal plant, and but it's surface mining. I don't think there's any digging down mining, so they're just plowing over hills and taking them. It's kind of amazing. These trains come by, you can see them, and they go as far as the eye can see, and they're filled with coal, and they're parked every day. And then by the end of the day, they're all empty. And I don't know where they get there must be a near infinite amount of coal, as far as I can tell. But a lot of things are backwards from what we think. And we're going to go over that in detail today. In detail. I also need to tell you about how my continual struggles being a black man. How I am essentially, I've been over this many times before, but in the way people treat me and in the way that I am perceived by others, I am essentially, and in my own characteristics, I'm essentially a black man. Although, not having the skin color of one, I am in that way more oppressed than any of them, because at least they're acknowledged as black. Whereas me, like for instance, I know you ever heard that trope where people all think like all white people think that all black people look the same.
Yeah, it's the same for every race, and
it's
even like reverse too.
It's especially true for white guys with long hair and beards, which I have under my helmet. I just this past month I took a tally, and I've had people tell me in gas stations and in stores and at work and in all the places. Well, actually not work. I haven't been to a work in like a month or two, but they've told me I look like, now, no, this is not a claim that I actually do. I'm not bragging, because the range of these people actually don't look anything alike at all. The only thing they have in common is they've had at various times in their lives on film had long hair and beards at the same time. right? Jason Momoa, people have said that. They've said Zach Galifianakis, Jack Black, Chris Hemsworth, and that other guy I can't remember. It's just in this month, and those people are wildly different sizes, attractiveness, body shapes. The only factor that's the same is that they have long hair and beards. And if you have that, everyone just you're like it's just they have facial blindness. It's just there's a guy with long hair and a beard, and that's So my experience and the African American experience are not that different, And I don't know. I wish there was more representation for people like me. Maybe I should start a support group. My constant refrain on this show, Cavi, has been for years, where's my parade? Everyone gets a parade but me. Where's my parade? Where's my parade for white black guys that are dressed kind of like a pseudo Power Ranger online? Where is that parade? There's not one. And I'm still looking for my tribe, I guess. If you're out there and you're a black white man that also dresses like a Power Ranger, please contact me right into the show. Cavi, do you hear this? One of our listeners sent in this lovely dulcimer to me, just as a nice gift. It's very lovely and it sounds great. I haven't played dulcimer in a long time. Let's see. Yeah, dulcimers. They're a beautiful instrument. I grew up in Dulcimer, USA. Not the actual name of it, but for the longest time, from about the year 2001 to the year 2017, the only place online that had dulcimer music sheets and pieces of music adapted from the dulcimer was my hometown. And at the community center, every Thursday would be about 70 old women all in a big huddle with one of these in their lap, just going to town on it. And so I picked up some through osmosis, and I was playing a little bit this Christmas, like that. And someone heard me playing it. They saw me playing it on. I posted a bit on it online, and he said, "I have one that you haven't. Is not being used, and I'll send it to you." So vielen Dank to him. Thank you to everyone. Cavi, before we get into our who is gay discussion, I had an interesting thought this morning. I was watching. Have you seen home renovation shows?
Yeah. My wife likes to watch those.
Yeah, all women like to watch home renovation shows.
Yep.
And it creates a wildly disparate expectation for how a home renovation will go in reality. 100%. Because on the show we're done in 30 minutes, but in real life it's a years long process. And
yeah, I did my basement somewhat recently and it took months and we still haven't finished. I'm still missing doors and we haven't even started the bathroom down here yet.
Well, let me tell you, the old Smokestack, may he rest in peace. There's lots of things about him, like his short toes, the fact that he was maybe questionably white and so on. I mean, very short, very small toes, weirdly small toes. But he once in his house decided that he wanted to build, I think it was a storm shelter, but really it was like a survival shelter. He got into this whole survivalist kick for a long time. He's always been that way. He always was that way a little bit. Back when we used to live in a house together and he would disappear sometimes. Then he'd show up and where were you? He's like, I was out camping. And I was like, by yourself? He's like, yeah, he'd just go off and sit in the woods for 3 days at a time by himself. But he was just had a pickaxe and he just went at his floor of his garage in his basement, or a garage rather. And he was trying to make a basement in the finished house, which isn't the way to go most of the time.
Because you guys don't have basements all the time in the States, do you?
Correct. It's not. A lot of people have basements, but it's not a default. You don't necessarily.
Yeah, that sounds so weird.
Yeah, you need the heat from the ground.
Yeah, the foundation has to go below the frost line or you get all screwed up.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to have that in a lot of the USA. And so he did not have a basement, and he was trying to make one in a house that was already finished. And it ended up he just had a hole in the ground for several years, and his wife would refer to it as the hole. And
How big was the hole?
you know, it was pretty diameter wise. I
Like
don't.
room sized?
It was supposed to get there, but it never did because obviously digging holes is a lot harder than people give it. Everyone thinks you can just dig a hole. Digging a hole is hard. It takes a lot of work, and there's a reason we have heavy machinery for it most of the time. And doing it by yourself was particularly difficult. So he just got this big hole, and eventually one day, after years, he filled it in, and it was just a whole mess. But you know, my father growing up, he did dig a basement in the house before it was finished, after it was finished, more or less. We added a storm shelter in the very middle of the house, and that took years. And occasionally he would have me help, and I would just be carrying buckets like of dirt out of the house, the front of dumping on the front lawn, and all the neighbors thought we were like tunneling to their, I don't know. We were tunneling is what we were doing. And then it flooded, you know, and after we dug it, it flooded, and then it would just fill up with water all the way to the floor of the main house, you know. So there's this pump there now and all this stuff it's this crazy project. Don't do it.
Have you ever seen that woman who
Yeah.
is digging this crazy tunnel through her basement and like documenting everything on YouTube?
Yeah, there's
She's
some
like
people.
an actual engineer and she's gone like hardcore digging like way deep into the earth.
Yeah, a lot of people. There are some people that just have dwarfish genes and they feel the need to tunnel. Not a lot, but there's an overlap with those people. Some people just need to be in a cave. Spelunkers, they just cannot live without being squished into a little between two rocks. I don't understand it. It's not a lifestyle I want to live. But I'm more of an elf. See, I have like elfish genes. I'm graceful. I play music, sing in the forest. You know, archery. I don't. I don't have a desire to dig and hoard gold in holes, but some people do, and we have to respect them as well. But my point in asking that is, recently there was some, especially like European home renovation channels. There's this recurring theme. It's not often, but there's this thing where they will knock down a wall and they'll discover a gun inside the wall. And it's almost always from like World War II, where people had like firearms, and then they were not wholly confident that the piece was going to hold. So they didn't turn in their firearms in case war broke out again, which wasn't an unreasonable fear, you know, with the Iron Curtain. And so they thought, well, this may happen again soon. So I'm just going to keep my gun, but I'm going to hide it in the wall. And this is what a lot of people did. And people find these guns, and they are always in terrible shape. They need to be restored or whatever, or just thrown away. And I started thinking, why does that happen? Why does that happen? Because it's a thing with anything that people make. If you let it sit there, it stops being good. Cars, guns, computers, microphone, anything. Even like a bar of silver will like tarnish if it just sits there. If you're using it, then it's okay. If you went out and shot the gun like every day, it would need some periodic maintenance, but it would still be more or less okay. But why do inanimate objects just, because this is like a temperature, it's mostly temperature controlled. You know, it's like it was on this side of the insulation. There's no water getting to it. It's not being exposed to extreme temperatures. But just being forgotten about seems to cause objects to start to go away and decay. And I think that's a very unremarked upon, interesting aspect of reality, that anything that you make, any artificial thing, if you do not continue to give it conscious attention, it starts to return to the chaos. Isn't that interesting? I don't know what to make of that. And that was just an idea that came to me this morning. But it does seem to be that without conscious attention, things go back to this state of non-being. And I think that is a profound place. Are you familiar with this at all, Cavi? Is this sounding anything like your experience?
Well, it's just entropy. And it's everything just falls apart over time, except of course in evolution where everything gets better over time, which is the opposite.
Right. Well, that's true, but like a gun, right? It's like a piece of metal with the wood stock, and like you wouldn't. There's not a lot to decay.
It must be like when you're using it. Well, like you have to maintain it too, right? Like if
You
you never did any
do.
maintenance on it, it would eventually fall apart. So
It's
it's
I.
probably just like friction and breaking down of atoms and various stuff.
My thesis is if you keep a gun in a wall for 70 years, it will require way more maintenance to restore than the cumulative maintenance you would have had to do over 70 years of using it semi-regularly. I think that's true. If you have
Probably. There's probably a point of like diminishing returns on the breaking down.
yeah, maybe it's I don't know. It's just weird. Even metals do this. You know, the only thing that doesn't do it is gold, which is one reason gold is also gold just sits there forever and it's still good. It doesn't tarnish at all. It's one of the few things that actually does that. It doesn't oxidize. It doesn't, and I just think that, and I think the gold being related to the sun, both metaphorically and alchemically, is maybe something there. This is just a thought I had. Now let's talk about who is gay. Who do you think is gay, Cavi, in the world? Give me some people you
Lots
think are
of
gay.
people. Peter Thiel. Um,
Peter
you put
Thiel's
me
gay.
on the spot, and now I can't think of
Keep
anyone else who's
listing
gay.
keep listing gay
Just
people.
just start listing regular people, and they're probably also gay. Elon
Probably
Musk,
also gay.
Trump.
I'm gonna share a screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Oh yeah, I know that meme.
Yeah, this
I
guy's
got to look up the
awesome.
whole video now.
I love this guy. How do I make the thing? How do I make the thing where I can show you the whole thing?
You're going all out now on these episodes with these PowerPoint presentations
I
each time.
know, I know. I just got hooked on it. Which side are we really on, and who is gay? Who is gay? I love this man. I think in NBS, I think it was Nigerian Broadcasting Station. I think it's everything coming out of Africa is constantly hilarious, dysfunctional, but constantly hilarious. Watch this whole clip if you haven't seen it. The pastor gets out there and he starts pulling out a pineapple and he says, he says they shove this in their mouths and then they try to kiss with. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is absurd. But which side are we really on? Because I'm going to read you these. I'm going to read you some real quotes from some real Nazis and some real quotes from some real communists. And I'm going to then we're going to look at the current situation and see what's happening and how we got here. Right. So this is Ernest Röhm, friend of Dorothy, more like friend of Hitler. And if you're not watching, if you're just listening, it's just a picture of him. And he looks like a sort of chubby gay Nazi. He's covered in his war uniform. And he said this quote, this guy was a friend of Hitler. Now he was during the Night of Long Knives assassinated. So the Nazis went through a period where they did not like gays as well. However, they had a long period of really, really enjoying them. And I don't think he was actually murdered because he was gay. He was one of the other people. He was just there. If the state thinks it can regulate human instinct by the force of law, that seems amateurish and inappropriate. Imagine a Nazi saying that. That's the weird. If the state thinks it can regulate human instincts by force of law, that seems amateurish and inappropriate. The battle against hypocrisy, deceit, and the falseness of this society today must begin with one's very natural instincts from the cradle, as it were. The many outcasts of modern society will no longer sit in prison, and attention can be given to ways and means of restricting the activities of the real criminals. He's fully advocating for like decriminalization of homosexuality, high up in the Nazi regime. Interesting data point. Again, was everyone that was Nazis pro-gay? No, but more than communists. More than communists. This guy, he looks kind of, you can just sort of tell. He's got like gay face a little bit. you know? And maybe it's the way he's wearing his hat. I think because he's wearing his hat as sort of a cockeyed, it's sort of at a little, he's not wearing it in a straight fashion. I'll say that.
But you know what it is?
What?
They look slightly unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the thing. There's that people used to, in a very derogatory way, refer to that as AIDS face. It doesn't mean, and I'm not condoning that, people. I'm just saying that's what people used to call it. There is a lot that gay men have a lot more STDs on average than most people. That's just true, because they're far more promiscuous, and maybe we're seeing some of that in his face. I don't know. But
what's the average life expectancy for a gay man?
I don't know. Do you know?
It's not high.
It's less. It's less. But there's a spectrum of gays, just like there's a spectrum of everything. Apparently, the gayest man I knew was a Nazi and was celibate. And he was extremely, extremely gay, but to the point where he was also repulsed by other human beings and the thought of touching them. He was an extreme germaphobe. And so the idea that STDs even existed was just like, he was out. He was out. But he also would be like, Mexicans carry more of them. And he may be factually true about that. I don't know. But he bought an AR-15 just to shoot minorities. I don't talk to him anymore. But this is true. It's a true story. And it was during the original Black Lives Matter first run riots. And he was like, they're going to come to my house. They're going to try to kill me. And I was like, that's not going to happen. He's like, it's going to happen. And then he got this AR-15, never shot it, never learned to shoot, as far as I know. Psychotic. But so this guy may have been a celibate militaristic gay. I don't know, but he does look a little homosexual. Next, this is Ernst Jünger. He himself was not a gay person, but he is beloved by many of the modern dissident right, quote unquote, and neo-Nazis and so forth and so on, because he wrote about a sort of masculine war type thing, and he was served in World War I for the German army, and he wrote the book Storm of Steel. Yes, Cavi.
Did you use AI on this slide?
I did. It gives me all these suggestions, and I just went wild with it. I just clicked them. He said sodomy is probably more prevalent in the countryside than in the city. Incidentally, that which we view as aberrant can definitely be associated with a more profound view of the world. The reason for this is precisely that this view is less subject to the reproductive pressure, the veil of our species. This is generally observable among homosexuals who judge by intellect. They are, therefore, always useful to intellectuals, quite apart from the fact that they are entertaining to have around. Ernst Jünger, pro-gay. Ernst Jünger liked having gay people around. I don't think he himself was gay, but he was this icon of the right wing of the neo-Nazis, pro-gay, as was the first one, gay. Just a data point. Antoni M. Ladovici. He is a British, although despite his name, Nazi and eugenicist. He was full on in the Nazi party. He wrote glowingly of Hitler. He said, nobody, certainly no Greek of the 5th century BC, would have claimed that there was anything pathological in the brain of Epaminondas, Greek name, I don't know, Epaminondas, the greatest and purest of the Greeks in history, or that of Asclepius, Sophocles, Socrates, Plato, Parmenides, etc. Yet all these men and many more equally respected and apparently regarded as sane by their contemporaries were confirmed pederast. So he's even going a little, he's like pederast. Besides, would anyone who knew his subject claim that men like Louis XIV's brother, or that of Guide, or any other notorious and respected homosexuals in history was fundamentally pathological? This guy's a eugenicist. And he's going, you know what? Pederasty's where it's at. I don't know. This fellow, Wyndham Lewis, now he looks like he was rejected by the village people.
Yeah, he looks pretty gay.
You know what it is? It's the pose. It's the pose that even though Ernst here is not trying, he's tipped his hat in a flamboyant way. And he's just a little too tucked together. This guy, though, he's got the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He's just trying. Anyway, he wrote a book called Hitler in like 1937. And it portrayed Hitler as a man of peace who wanted the best for the world. He loved Hitler. Later, he did change his mind after they lost the war. He was like, oh, no, that wasn't ever me. But this was during his Hitler phase. And he said, quote, there are many people, perhaps lacking in moral sensitiveness, who would yet be in some way physically offended by practices, quote, against nature. This would be extremely unreasonable. The animal self-complacency and self-love that thinks itself natural and engaging, and everything else unnatural and disengaging, gives the impression of being much more male in the traditional sense than any other male. I don't know what that means, really. That last bit seems like gobbledygook. But he was a very pro-gay guy. All these Nazis and eugenicists are like, yeah, pederasty and homosexuality that's what I like. I don't know. It's weird. And here's Wilhelm Reich. He's the guy that made these things, which some of them do look like sex objects that have been manufactured.
I've seen those in real life.
I don't know if they work. This is
just in random people's backyards.
These are cloud busters, allegedly. And what they do is you point them at clouds and clouds go away, is the claim. I've never tried one. Yeah.
They fight chemtrails.
These are chemtrail fighting devices. This is chemtrail technology. I've got 3
anti-chemtrail technology.
Right, and anti-chemtrail technology. Right. So you do some weird thing and you've got hoses and like copper wire and a crystal maybe. It's very strange. Look up Orgone Cloudbuster. But these have taken off in the hippie space, especially. Hippies love these. And the guy that came up with it was Wilhelm Reich, this fellow here, who was, if not a Nazi-ish. He didn't like killing people, but he was racist and thought that there should be an extremely nationalist. But he was like, let's do it without killing people. So that is better. Yeah, and he came up with this whole theory that the fundamental energy of the universe is the same energy that is felt and experienced when having an orgasm. So he called the fundamental energy of the universe orgone, like for orgasm. And he said you could harness it via these weird things to like heal your body and bust clouds and all these other claims. Maybe it works. I've never tried this. I bet some of our listeners have. Write in if you have and tell us if this works. Maybe it do.
Have you ever tried busting clouds with your mind?
I have. Have you?
I have, and it appears to work.
It does appear to work, but I haven't. I would, to make a claim like that, I am an experimentalist. To make a claim like that, I'd have to do a whole lot more trials than I'm willing to do and document them and run a statistical analysis. But it does seem to work when you try it. So maybe this works too. I don't know. But Wilhelm Reich said the more clearly developed the natural heterosexual inclinations of juveniles are, the more open he will be to the revolutionary idea, e.g. communism, socialism. Semicolon, the stronger the homosexual tendency within him, the more easily he will be drawn to the right. The more easily he will be drawn to the right wing if he's more homosexual. This is a 180-degree inversion of how we think about these things today, where people think like, oh, if you're gay, you're left wing and you're a communist. I don't know. Orgone accumulation. I don't know. As I say, I wrote IDK here in yellow, and there's just a lot of gay going on and like not white nationalism.
How did I forget all those people? Especially Nick Fuentes. Like, come on.
Nick Fuentes is still very active in the world, and
and Milo too.
He's receiving a lot of attention. Every prominent super gay like politician person is on the right wing, quote unquote. Like almost everyone. There's very few And those that aren't, like Anderson Cooper, they don't make being gay like their whole thing. Anderson Cooper is gay, but he doesn't really ever talk about it. But if you're on the right wing, this down here, this picture is of this lady in blonde here, this blonde lady. She is the leader of Alternative for Deutschland, the quote unquote far right party of Germany. And she is in a relationship with an Indian woman. I don't know. What is that? What is this? What are we doing? What is any of this doing? What people's brains are broken. And that's the point. That's the point. I'm going to try. All of this is politics exists to break your brain. That's what it is. To make you think things that are 180 degrees the opposite of reality. Because the narrative is the right wing is homophobic and they will kill gays and they don't like Jews and they're white nationalists. But the Democratic Party is super white in comparison. Number one, just compare J.D. Vance and his family. Again, nothing wrong with being married to an Indian and having half Indian children. Doesn't bother me at all. Mazel tov and namaste. But if the claim is that this guy is a white nationalist, that just seems weird. And it seems weird that so many people believe that. Here he is sitting in front of the Taj Mahal. He may as well have a dot on his head with his family. Milo up here, extremely gay. Nick Fuentes is a homosexual man. Allegedly, I think there's enough evidence to say verifiably. He never comes out and says it, but this is a picture of him giving doe eyes to a cat boy streamer, a gay man who dresses up like a cat. And go ahead.
There's more videos of him on dates with cat boys than there are of him at church.
There's no videos of him with women, really, except when he's being interviewed by one. He has no interest in women at all. He talks about that openly. He's like, women suck. He thinks women suck because he's not attracted to them in any way at all. He only likes men. Very good evidence. He hooked up with the YouTuber Destiny, who I don't know.
Who hasn't?
Who hasn't? And I don't. So did Lauren Southern, allegedly. If anyone remembers that name. But I don't know. Listen, if you were gay or straight or whatever, I don't know why anyone would hook up with Destiny. The man looks like a
100%.
He looks like a piece of Play-Doh that's been animated by a spell into like a walking golem. I don't understand.
Yet somehow he's super popular with everyone.
I know. This is the thing. Algorithms promote that which breaks Stein brain. This is the thing.
I meant more the having sex with people part.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes here. I would be shocked if we did not at some point discover that he is in has had at least a few homosexual relationships, and he is the face of young Catholic right-wing America. It's so silly. It's so silly. Peter Thiel up here, extremely gay vampire, wants young people's blood, or at least professed interest in having young people's blood. May have been involved in a company that did it to inject into old people to preserve their youth. Gay vampire. It's just, I don't know. It's just, you compare J.D. Vance and his family with Gavin Newsom, and you're like, well, which one is more likely to be a white nationalist? Gavin Newsom has the whitest family that's ever lived, as do almost all of them. Almost everyone, even the brown people. Even Omar, she has like a white boyfriend, AOC white boyfriend. They're all like, even the brown people are like, no, white's where it is. And they're allegedly the gay side, except that the right wing has all the gay people, which is how I've said before, the left wing is pro-gay and the right wing is actually gay. And this you have to understand. To make sense of the world. This sounds very gay. Here's my little slide of Tony Soprano in that line from the show. I never actually watched The Sopranos. Do you watch The Sopranos?
Never seen it either.
It was allegedly a good show. I don't know. I don't know. Italians, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, let's talk about Venezuela. Venezuela, the big, and I thought it was cool. I mean, just to be honest, I thought it's nice to fly into a place. Our lovely listener and contributor Tanny from Australia, she often has the outside perspective, and she perceives, as I'm sure most people do, that are not in America, Americans as all insane. And she once said, "I didn't realize that you were all brainwashed to be this jingoistic," or something like that months ago. But I think that's true. It may just be, when I was on the campout, I talked about a few shows back. At one point during the night, the children, the boys and the girls, we were having a late night like art thing or like a camp sing or whatever. They all spontaneously broke into humming the national anthem. Does that ever happen in Canada, Cabby?
Nope.
Yeah. In America, school children, unprompted, who are like, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, will in mass spontaneously break into singing the national anthem and cover their hearts like this. And then one kid took his shirt off, flung it around the air and screamed, "America!" And this was a mix of diverse children. There was a Arabic kid or two. There was a bunch of Mexicans. There was a one that was Italian and sort of chubby, not unlike this guy. He had more hair though because he was 12. And black kids, and they were just, I don't know where they get it. I mean, I guess in public school every day, and in most private schools, they pledge allegiance to the flag and talk about how America's the greatest thing in the world. And so maybe I also have been brainwashed, and I just think this is great because of that. I don't know, but I did think it was really fun to see helicopters fly in and just steal someone out of their bed, steal a president, El Presidente out of their bed. I thought that was cool. But objectively, as Tucker Carlson has pointed out, Venezuela is the most conservative country socially, not economically, in the Western Hemisphere, if not the world. And it's strange, considered in that perspective, that the right wing is so against them and that the left wing is so for them. Which gives the lie that any of this is about anything that people think it is. Here's a map of abortion laws in the world. Green means you're on request. Most of Europe is green, and people will dispute that and say, well, it's up to certain ages. That's kind of true. It's kind of also not. Like in France, they say you can't have it beyond so many weeks, but Planned Parenthood, who is also in France, because of course they are, if you are beyond that, they will fly you to Germany or some other country where you can do it later, have your abortion, then come back, and they send a bill to the French government for it, and the French government pays it. So it's just, they're just with extra steps, which is kind of like in the USA, they have us green and red because it's like it's prohibited, but it's also on request, because in one state it's illegal, but if you drive, a couple 100 miles over, you can have one, whatever. So it doesn't really matter. It's basically, for all intents and purposes, on demand in most of the Western world. It's not in Africa, and it was banned in Venezuela. You can't have an abortion in Venezuela legally. No, it doesn't happen. And yet, we took them out. We don't like them. Gay marriage, not allowed. Homosexual activity is illegal in Venezuela. Transsexual operations, not allowed. Maduro was like, no me gusta on all that stuff. And yet, this is the guy aligned with the left wing and the guy, the right wing. I don't know. It's this guy again, I guess. I don't understand it. I don't understand what's happening. LGBT rights in Venezuela. No legal recognition of same-sex couples. In my country, no gays, says Brown Strongman. No abortion. Traditional family values. No me gusta for all that. And the woman that we want to replace him with, now that we've captured him, this is the U.S.'s candidate, is a white woman. So we had a tall, fairly muscular brown man who stood for traditional values. I'm just telling you the facts. And then our country under Donald Trump, the Nazi wants to replace her with a much whiter woman who says love is love and makes a little hand heart. Brown man out, white pro-gay woman in. This is Nazism, I guess. This is fascism. I don't know. They gave this woman a Nobel Peace Prize already for, I don't know why, for being pro-gay, I guess. And then, you got this guy, but we can't have him. We can't have him. Now, is it because of the Venezuelan oil? Maybe. I mean, that is nice to have. And I'm glad that people were like, no, that's why we're doing it, because it's nice. The Croatian prime minister got out there and he said that. He said, I commend Trump for just saying it's about oil rather than making up some reason like the Biden or any other previous administration would have done, which is what we've been doing. Of course, Afghanistan was for opium. They didn't call him Poppy Bush for nothing. Poppy, opium poppies. It's a joke. You're the butt of the joke if you didn't get it. Of course, we want the opium. That's why we were there, right? And the rest was all laid up nonsense for no reason. But all of the rest of it was a post hoc justification. And so it's nice to be like, no, we want the oil. But also, we apparently don't. If he'd have been pro-gay, would we have taken him out? Maybe not. Maybe we wouldn't have taken him out if he'd have been pro-gay. This is a big one. Usury. Usury was banned in Venezuela, or I guess still is, but Maduro was part of that. No me gusta for usury, says Maduro. But 50, then you have a white suburban family on the other side saying 50-year mortgage, sign me up, Donald Trump. Again, bad communist against traditional values, loved by the LGBT side of America. No usury. Over here, allegedly white Christian, whatever, loves usury. It's supposed to be a mortal sin, I guess, but no one cares. If you even think that's a thing, but Protestants don't have the mortal sin, but they still would traditionally could hold it bad, but no one cares anymore. No one cares. Catholics don't, and I'm just, by every standard, all of them, of socially conservative values, Maduro was the guy. All of them. And yet, everyone on the allegedly conservative side of America cheered when he was taken out, including me. But not for any reason other than it looked cool. And I like it when people storm things with helicopters. And maybe that is my American brainwashing. Maybe that's all it is. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was also raised in a place where you had to pledge allegiance to a flag and take your shirt off and spin it above your head and go America. I don't know. But just when I step back from my excitement of storming things with helicopters, it's like, well, why did we do this? Our good friend Godward, who writes a wonderful Substack called Author of Unhewn Stone, who goes by Adamantus there, he made this thing on Substack a while ago. This comment, he said, there is still not a zero interest lending association for Christians. So for Muslims, and I think Jews and other faiths, there are banking options for people that have it against their religion to not do usury, as Christians used to, but Muslims still do. And yes, Cavi.
And I believe there's no restrictions. So for a pro tip, if you need a mortgage or a car loan or something, go to a Muslim bank.
Yeah, there's no restrictions. They can't refuse you for being non-Muslim. So you can take advantage of that. It's not, I looked into it. I didn't quite understand how it works because I was asking people here. I asked people under this comment. I said, well, how does this work? How does the company that gives you the loan make money? To which some people very helpfully said, you sound like a Jew. That's helpful. Thank you. No, but okay, well, you're not giving people loans for free of hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm asking how this functions. And some people chimed in and told me a little bit about it. I'm still not 100% clear how it works, but it sounds like what happens is, in a case of a business loan, you do not have to pay interest on the loan or whatever, but essentially the bank buys dividends in your business. They buy stock in your small business. that you have to then give them. So they don't, it's not like so if your business fails, they don't get anything. But if it succeeds, you get less of the profits. So it's a higher risk, higher reward investment for banks, and they're less likely to give you it. But they may if they think your business idea is good. So that's an option that you can take as even a non-Muslim if you go to one of those banks. But I don't know if that's better than usury. I guess it is. But and then the housing thing was a bit more confusing because there's nothing for them to get. I think what happens essentially is it becomes like a rent to own situation, and they sell it to you for more. Like the bank buys the house for, let's say it's a $350,000 house. They buy it for like $600,000, or they buy it and they sell it to you for $600,000 and let you. It works out for the customer. You're doing the same thing basically. Like the amount of money you're paying is not that much different. But anyway, yeah. So if you can't buy the house outright, the bank will buy it for you and then sell it to you for more, and that's how they make their profit, I think. So it doesn't actually save you a lot of money, but it might be useful in the business side of it if you're willing to give up dividends of your small business. But yeah, but there's not one of those for Christians because no one cares. But then I was thinking, okay, but does no one care for a reason? Like, here's a picture underneath it of this is what Venezuela looks like. It's like a slum, right? Venezuela is a slum, and they don't have usury. So over here we've got the favelas of Latin America. Christian, and this is, I guess, right? Wouldn't this be Christian monetary practices? But over here, we've got this beautiful New England harbor full of these yachts and these lovely houses. And it says, but Jews give me loans, ... And again, it's not the Jews giving you loans. It's just a funny joke that people say that all the time. It's not funny to Jews, I'm sure, but it is funny to me. And the people were like, you sound like a Jew. But I'm like, look, well, if that's true, then which is producing a better result? I don't know. Just look at it. Part of the reason America is so successful is that we magic money, right? And I know that, like, traditionally, under traditional Christian practices, Catholic practices, Orthodox teaching on money, you should treat it as like a real thing or whatever, but we don't, and it appears to work out better, right? And this is an issue. This is a thing I've been thinking about this for a minute, because so much of what people say they want, like they do one thing while saying they want another thing, but never pursuing that thing in any way and just complaining about it. And I think that functions as a way to offload their guilt about not doing it and doing it this other way because they really don't want to do it that way. It's very psychological. But the US probably was the first one to really figure this out, was like, hey, money is completely fake. Everyone else still thinks kind of that there's like, yes, there's all this funniness, and yes, it's fiat currency, and blah, 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 blah. But at some point, it gets down to like a real something, and there's like a thing you can't do. And the USA, for better or worse, and I don't know if Jews helped or not. There probably were some Jews at the Federal Reserve helping with this, and God bless them. But they figured out, hey, no, actually money is completely fake. There is no reality to it at all. You can do anything. And so we did. And we make up all these words and games to play all these things. And it functions. What do you want? I don't know. Is this a refutation of classic Christian teaching on monetary practices? Maybe. But what we're doing produces not as many favelas as what they're doing. Think about it. If no one could give you a loan, if you lived in under Maduro, you would not have the house next to him because houses are expensive. Because houses cost, there's several laborers that have to come into your house and build it, and they have to spend a lot of time on it, and you have to pay them and pay their health insurance. and all the materials cost a lot, and you have to meet fire codes and plumbing and all the stuff, and you need the roof and the blah, blah, blah. And at minimum, like even a small house in somewhere that isn't very is going to cost you $100,000. That's just what it costs, because things cost. Now, you could build a shack on a hill, and Venezuela has. You can build lots of shacks on a hill for a lot cheaper, something that you could afford, but then you live in a shack on the hill that doesn't have the air conditioning. And if it has electricity, it is a fire hazard and all these things, right? So how are you going to afford the house without the loan, right? And my point in this is like, does anybody look? I picked on Eastern Orthodoxy people a little bit in this slide because they came at me this week. I didn't start it. But here's a map of immigration, not immigration. Immigration. Immigration is when you leave the country and you go the country that you're native to, and you go somewhere else and you just stay there. And if traditional societies are the solution, why does everyone want to leave them? Look at this. If that's the solution, why does everyone hate living there? Russia is also more, socially conservative than the USA. No one wants to live there. 10% of the people that are born there say, this isn't for me, I'm going somewhere else. 1 in 10 is a lot of attrition rate. That's pretty bad. Every single Eastern Orthodox country is people flee. They go, no way. I don't want to be here. Take me to gay America. That's what they say. Let me go to gay America. That's where I want to be, where they have usury and I can get a house. And I just find this an interesting phenomenon. I don't think people are seriously taking into consideration that maybe what they say they want is not what they actually want. And maybe this is the thing the government knows. I hate to tell you this. No one likes this. This is the thing George Soros knows. Hillary Clinton knew this. Donald Trump does too. They can safely ignore everything you say because you are just venting. I know this is hard to hear. You are just venting. You do not actually want to live in a socially connected community where you're a farmer and everything is in a cottage core and I'm organic food. Some of you do. Our listenership has a higher percentage of that than most people, but most people that say those things have no actual desire. They do not want to farm. They do not want this. They do not want privacy on the internet. They want convenience and they want the thing to be at the store and they want a house, and that's all. They want gas prices cheap. Because think about it, without usury, none of this is possible. I know that's upsetting to hear. I've also screamed against usury on this show many times. It has a dark side, but even if you personally didn't partake of it, everything that you want to like run your business, if you were a farmer and you decided I'm going to be an Amish style guy, well, your tractor parts are going to have to be sourced by a company that probably engaged in a lot of usury and took loans to fund its business. Everything you would have to do to interact with the outside world is going to be, if no one used it, none of this stuff would happen, right? And the places where they don't use it as much, no one wants to live there. And that's just a weird thing for me. I don't quite understand it. I mean, well, I understand it. I don't understand why we don't recognize it, right? Right. This slide is what I'm going to throw up every time an Eastern Ortho bro comes at me. I'm going to say, okay, well, then why does everyone want to leave your countries if you haven't figured out? If you haven't figured out, and this is the thing they say, me. If you think that Christianity is about producing social outcomes and culture, you're totally off base. And I agree with that. But also, is it so much of an ask to say, well, if you have the quote unquote one true religion, wouldn't that in theory at least lead to some degree of better in some way? Like some degree of like people are like, we should want to be around these people because they don't have a lot of crime. Not true in Eastern Europe. They don't scam people. Again, they don't do abortion. They don't, or whatever. It should be a nice place to live, and by at least some metrics. Maybe you're not the richest people in the world, but you would have all the other good things. But you don't. Right? And I don't think it's so much of an ask to say, well, if you're claiming it's the one true faith, why has it produced no place in the world that people want to stay? And I don't think that's too big of a question. I think that's a reasonable question. And it gets back to this idea of like, well, because there's this cope. There's a huge amount of cope that happens. Cope. Where because here's the thing. Does anyone deny this is true? If the papal states run by the Vatican and whose head was the Pope, it used to be a real country, look it up. It was a thing. The Pope owned territory and was the sovereign king of the country in mostly Italy and a little beyond it. If the papal states and it collapsed, it went away. America didn't go away. But the papal states went away. The papal states, if they were still there and they were the most prosperous country in the world, it would be taken as evidence by every Catholic in the world of God's blessings and we have it right. No? Yes, it would. Yes, Cappy.
Devil's advocate. How long had the Papal States existed versus what, like 250 years for America?
I don't know. I don't remember. But it didn't. But they existed at the same time, and it went down.
And America hasn't gone down yet.
But it shows no signs of stopping. So I know people want it to, but it ain't. In fact, it's really the only player other than China. It's the only player right now. Russia's like, man, we're Russia. And they spent 100,000 lives, probably a lot more, billions of dollars in 4 years trying to take a tiny little place. And it hadn't happened. And the USA is just like, nah, you know what? You're a BRICS country. Just kidnap your president out of bed. 30 minutes, in and out, done. I mean, look, the US dollar is not going to collapse. I hate to tell you, everyone waiting on a collapse. It ain't going to happen. Because we know, the US knows that money is completely not real. Everyone in Europe, I got to hear my mouth. Everyone in Europe and in Asia, maybe not Asia. I think the Chinese get it. But everyone in Europe and like Asia besides China, they think they still operate on the gold. It's like money is a replacement for gold. Like Germany still calls money Geld, the same for gold. There's like money is Geld. It's not. Money is money. Money is made up, and you can make up as much of it as you want, and then make a scheme about it, and it can just be anything you want. And if you run out of it, you just pretend you didn't, and you package it into like a debt deal, and you throw that away. And you sell it as a bond. And if no one wants to buy your bond, you print $1 trillion, you pay for it. It doesn't matter. Anything you want, you can do. And it's just an infinite money machine. It's an infinite wealth creation thing. Don't be mad at me that exists. Didn't do it. Don't be mad at me that it works. But if the Papal State still existed and was the dominant country in the world, every Catholic would go see. Just as if Constantinople still existed, it doesn't. It's Istanbul, not Constantinople. It's nobody's business but the Turks, because in every situation in the Old Testament, when you lose your capital city and get run over, and it's taken as a condemnation of your thing, and yet somehow they're like, but see, they flipped around, and it's like, well, because we are so virtuous and good and correct, we are cursed by the world, but you can do it either way. They would, and that's the point. They would do it either way. They would use whatever happened as evidence that they were correct. If Constantinople were running the world with the Orthodox religion at its side, they would say, see, we're the correct. And if it's not, they say, see, the righteous experience the most oppression. So it's nothing. It's nothing, right? You've got your conclusion and you just, whatever happened, you twist to be evidence for it, right? And what if though, blessings actually follow being good? That has a strong biblical, I mean, if you're going to go with the Bible, that's very much in there. Now, it does say sometimes that doesn't happen for various reasons. But in general, I think you could say, at least through the Old Testament and some of the New, blessings follow the righteous. Is America the righteous? Wouldn't that be something? Again, listen, take it ever with a grain of salt. I was raised in the Pledge of Allegiance Society where, I mean, we would go to the memorials of dead people and of the dead soldiers. And it's the USA is a warrior culture. It loves military. And it loves it. Like if someone is there, they go, "Thank you for your service." The veterans are like a protected status. It's this whole thing, right? So this could just be that talking. But also, you see all these countries over here? If you can't see, I'm trying to scroll my mouse, which I can't really see anymore because it's white, over Europe and Asia. This is all an atheist place. All of Europe and Asia is atheist, pretty much. I mean, they openly declare they do not care about God at all. A lot of the USA is like that, but a lot of it's also not, and maybe that's something. Maybe the fact that about half, which isn't nothing, of people in the USA will respond to a poll saying religion is at least moderately important to them, and faith in God is moderately important. Maybe the fact that we are a country full of crazy Jesus barn evangelicals and superstitious Mexican Catholics isn't for nothing. Maybe there's a blessing there. Maybe it's just that, hey, God's like, hey, there's somebody down there that still cares. Give him a jet ski. I'm just asking the question because I don't know, but I do know that if you're claiming that you're why did all of the traditional quote unquote faiths fail? And they have failed miserably. All of everything south of Texas is Catholic and it's a disaster. Everything south of Texas is Catholic and it's a disaster. Everything east of Germany is Eastern Europe, is Eastern Orthodox and also a disaster. America has a Jesus barn and here you get a jet ski. And I love, have you heard the term Jesus barn?
Nope. Is that like a super church?
It's like a super church, but sometimes they build these big churches. Sometimes they build these big churches and they don't have a lot of money. So it just goes up like a shed, it's just like aluminum sided on a thing. And it looks like a barn. And I've taken to calling them Jesus barns. You see them on the side of the road. But hey, at least someone here thinks about Jesus. This isn't true over there. Maybe they're doing it wrong, but at least they're doing it, and that is upsetting for a lot of people that think about these things, I know that Cavi, you might know this. I know China is the communist thing of China is explicitly not atheistic. Is there much traditional religion in China at all today?
Yes, the official word is you're not allowed to push your religion on people, but if you're just doing it by yourself, they're completely cool with that. So there is actually a surprisingly high Christian population, but there's also huge Buddhist population and Taoist and
right,
your traditional Eastern religions are everywhere.
And they're also somewhat successful. I mean, they're very successful by world standards. They're not as standard of living in general is not as high as America, but it's getting there. And maybe that's why. Maybe because they care a little bit, right? Maybe because they care a little bit. Maybe it makes up for the rest of it. I don't know. Maybe it makes up for the usury, and maybe God's like, yeah, you should do better, but at least you care. Reveal preferences. Maybe people don't. Maybe no one wants it. Everyone moves away. Reveal preferences. Is it the case that the most quote unquote sinful places produce the best quality of life? And whose team are we really on? That's the question. Who is gay? Whose team am I on? Where am I? Maduro, this may have had something to do with it as well. He was against Zionism. Probably, we have the strangest Nazis in the world The U.S., if Donald Trump and his supporters are Nazis, they're the strangest Nazis that have ever existed. They're, as you see here, they're covered in yarmulkes and Western walls and Jewish stars of David.
Yeah, but the problem is the people are idiots, and their only understanding of Nazis comes from like Captain America and Indiana Jones. They're
Yeah,
just
I
basically
know.
cartoon supervillains.
Yeah, I know. But it's the strangest communism and the strange, like, my point is the Nazi side of America, quote unquote, is super gay and super Jewish, or at least they love Jews. They're very they're very philo-Semitic. They're not anti-Semitic, they're philo-Semitic. They try to make it illegal to not like Jews. That's how much they love Jews. It's the weirdest Nazism that's ever been. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, here's some quotes by communists. Frederick Engels, one of the the main communist guys. He said, quote, "The pederasts are beginning to count themselves and discover that they are a power in the state. Since they have such important men in all the old parties and even the new ones, they cannot fail to triumph. War to the," I don't want to get this in this one flag for language, but war to the C words, peace to the buttholes will now be the slogan. It is only in Germany that a fellow like this man can come forward and convert this smut into theory. Super against, and he was against homosexuality. Super against anything perceived as quote unquote sexual degeneracy. Super against it. Fidel Castro. Quote, Fidel Castro, remember the Cuban, Justin Trudeau's father looks just like Fidel Castro. No homosexual could ever embody the conditions and requirements of conduct that would enable us to consider him a true revolutionary, a true communist militant. A deviation of that nature clashes with the concept we have of what a militant communist must be. This is from a 1965 interview. Again, he says, no homosexual could ever be a communist. No, it can't happen. I'm Fidel Castro. Maxim Gorky. In the land where the proletariat govern courageously and successfully, homosexuality, with its corrupting effect on the young, is considered a social crime punishable under law. By contrast, in the, quote, cultivated land of the great philosophers, scholars, and musicians, it is practiced freely and with impunity. There is already a sarcastic saying, destroy homosexuality and fascism will disappear. From Proletariat Humanism, 1934. Again, no gay with this guy, but we want to replace him with that lady. No abortion with guy, abortion with lady. Transsex, no transsex with guy, transsex with lady. No usury no me gusta with guy, usury good with lady. Conservative, Nazi, communist, gay. What is it? Who is gay? Who is gay? Which is gay among us?
And to make it even more confusing, now you've got all of the left-wing people defending Maduro.
I know. Destroy homosexuality and fascism will disappear. Article 121. This was a law passed by Comrade Stalin himself. Fabulous mustache the guy had, by the way. Love it. He said Article 121, it made homosexuals go to jail. This was what the law did. And actually, it suggests in this law. So the law not only says homosexuality is a crime and you go to jail for it, but also it suggests that they're probably also pedophiles and maybe fascists. So in the Soviet Union, under Stalin, if you got caught having a sexual encounter with another man, they said, you're probably a fascist and a pedophile, maybe, and you go to jail. We recognize over here that gays are Nazis. As Marx himself said, Karl Marx, gays are worse than pedophiles. That's an extreme statement. But this has been pretty much scrubbed from all English language talk of him. But you can still find this quote in like Portuguese and Spanish translations of his work. Gays are worse than pedophiles. Karl Marx. Very, very, very weird that this is the part. This is the tolerance thing, and this one is the Nazi thing. And that, who is gay? Ask yourself that, listener. Who is gay? Whose side are we actually on? I don't even know anymore. I don't know whose side anybody's on. I don't know any sides. Everyone's brain has been broken. You got from this guy, gays are worse than pedophiles, to this man in a dress with a camo ballet dress on, talking about vote communists for gays, and everyone's just it's all gone. And my thesis to you is, listeners, that this is the purpose of politics, to constantly flip-flop words, to constantly flip-flop concepts, to constantly mingle ideas, to constantly do this and that, to constantly invert what is true, to constantly redefine, to constantly show that your brain is broken. Your brain is broken. You believe something in your heart, which is fundamentally the exact opposite of reality. That was actually one of the things the Nazis said. I forget the guy. He said, "We will know our work is complete." Oh, no, that wasn't a Nazi. This was the CIA. This was in the CIA. I forget the guy's name, but he said, "We will know our work is complete when nothing the average U.S. citizen believes is true." So I think everything is upside down. And that why do they want to do this? Because you have to, it's satanic, but it is also paternalistic. And they kind of love you, but they also want you to die. They love you in the sense that they think life is meaningless. Can you hear my dog? My dog goes over there fussing. He doesn't like being on the spaceship.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's fussing because his toy is stuck under a thing. I'll have to get it in a second. He hates, it always gets stuck in the vacuum airlocks over here, and I have to get it out. But it breaks your brain because if you had a clear vision, you would be confronted with what I was saying is, let me go back. The Satan loves you in the sense that he thinks life is worthless and meaningless, and you'd be better off dead. He's a euthanasiast. He believes that everyone should be. He thinks creation was a mistake. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like existing himself, and he doesn't think anyone should. And it would be better off and more merciful if everyone was dead. So that's what they try to make happen, right? And it is in that sense from a merciful. It's a twisted mercy, but that's the logic going on. That's the logic going on, and so. If you were thinking clearly, if you could see clearly what was actually happening, if you could see clearly, you would be confronted with the truth, and you wouldn't be able to hide behind all these things. You wouldn't be able to say, like, I'm conservative, but also the fact that you were the conservative that was also into usury and supporting the transsexual side would be obvious to you, and you would have to figure that out and be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What is actual? And if you were thinking clearly, the fact that you were gay and supporting the side that's traditionally killed you would also be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Right? And so, but everything you think has to be the opposite so that you can continue in your self-delusion, which you desperately want to do. You desperately never want to ask this specific question. Have you considered that what you truly desire is what you already have? And that everything that you say you want is just to cover up for your actual lack of desire to change things. Because, you really can't just do things. If you wanted to, I was joking with Godward again. He was talking about, images are bad on the internet. We shouldn't have, I don't mean to give him an annoying voice. We should just have, and I agree, images are kind of a problem. They're very hooking, and they draw people in, and they distort people's ideas of reality, kind of like a digital idol. he said we should have a text only based internet. And I was like, you can have that now. Like you can just view web pages through the command prompt, and then you can navigate through them and everything. I mean, it's not super easy, but people do, but no one wants to. Yes, Kevin.
I'll point out this is kind of interesting on the image thing. In the Bible, every time Satan tempts someone or causes a problem, it's through their eyes and what they see. But then alternatively, every time God communicates with someone, it's like through their ears and what they hear.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So everyone's brain is broken. Why not just take Greenland? I'll finish here. I'll finish here. I'm just going to give you a little bit of talk on my my thoughts on the Greenland thing. What's the temperature in the room like up in Canada about Greenland, Cabby? Does anyone care?
I don't think anybody's ever cared about Greenland. The only caring you're going to hear are from like the Canadians who are all anti-Trump and are just by default against whatever he wants. But I've never in my whole life ever even thought of Greenland.
Yeah, no one has. No one has. And why? Because like 30 something thousand to 50,000 people live there. There's almost no one there, and it's this giant. But what I find interesting is this over socialization that we have, where people assume, and they seem to really think this. That's the crazy bit. That if something is on paper, it's kind of real. And this is my issue with a lot of. This is maybe the benefit that evangelicals have over the quote unquote apostolic faiths is that they don't have a big paper trail. They've got the Bible, yes, but then what it says and what you should do about it is kind of open. And so you don't have all this, you have to figure it out yourself. And that can be a negative, but also it leads to some, I guess, genuine concern and genuine trying. Whereas what you get every time you encounter something in Catholicism, like this is what they said over Venezuela. Say, well, look here at this paper. This paper says no. Papers say no, you can't do that. Look, they're not just war theory. You need the paper, and everyone knows it's kind of it's dumb. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it's dumb. Everyone knows that just war theory is a lie, and that anytime it's just if you want to do it. It's just if it's beneficial to the Catholic powers, it becomes just all of a sudden. And it retroactively is justified, right? That's the way it's been for centuries. Everyone knows that that's the case. But everything they go to, and people do that all the time. It starts when you're a child and you go to school and there's a list of things you can and cannot do. And everyone just assumes like, well, see here, you can't. The list, see this paper? It's gotten really bad. I remember that I first encountered this and realizing this when I was in elementary school. And there was something, I forget what it was. It was something about history. And I knew it. I knew this as a fact. And I knew, because I had like been there. It was like something about the place I had been. And I told people, I think what it was like this place was on a lake, like it was near a lake. Maybe it was like a castle or something. Anyway, it came up, and one of the things in the textbook was like, this thing is far away from water, or it was some crazy thing like that. And I raised my hand and I was like, it's not. It's like there's this giant lake that's been there forever. And no one would believe me. This was probably third grade before we had Oregon Trail on the computer, so there wasn't like looking it up on the internet. And they were like, well, in the book, even the teacher was like, here, look, the book says your personal thing is invalidated because in the book, see, someone wrote it down. That means it's more real than what you see with your eyes. And so they're just like, well, it says on this paper that Denmark has Greenland, therefore Denmark has Greenland. And that really, I think people are beginning to see the cracks in that logic, because really what claim does, and again, America, right? I don't take this all with a grain of salt from someone brainwashed, but isn't colonialism bad? We decided that, right? We spent like 3 decades deciding colonialism bad. Okay, colonialism bad, but so because Greenland colonized it, they get to keep it forever because some piece of paper says they do, right? Yes, Cabby.
Well, I'm looking at your map there, and I see that Pituffik Space Base.
Uh-huh.
So I looked that up quickly. That's a U.S. military base.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this other show talking about this the other day, and they were looking into what kind of military does Greenland actually have. And all of the military planes, equipment, and everything is basically either specifically from the United States or on loan from the United States.
Yeah, yeah. It's we already have it in everything but paper. Like the military is completely on it. We can do anything we want on it, and that's it, you know. And so somehow, but people are like, well, I still have the paper though. I have the paper, you know. But if you can't defend a place nor develop it, right? So if you take Greenland and you look at it size wise, it stretches from the north of Scotland to the top of Africa. It goes all the way across the UK, across the Channel, across France, and across Spain, and then across that little bit of the Mediterranean Sea and touches Africa. It's a huge place. And their claim is 30,000 people get all of it and get sole decision on what happens to it. Although they don't live on they live on like less than 1% of it. And they're doing nothing with it. How is this not hoarding? Right? You could easily make a very communistic case that this is ridiculous. That from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Why do you get to hoard this giant landmass with all this strategic stuff and strategic positioning and all these resources, minerals, oil, and so forth? Why do you get to sit on it, not even using it, not even able to use it, and you can't defend it yourself because paper, look, it says on the paper you can't have it. Look at this blog post. It says you're wrong. See my blog post? But that means nothing when you just helicopter in and say you're coming with us, right? That's the thing. That's what Europe has forgotten. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the only rights you have are the ones that you can actually defend.
Right. I know. Now, I don't in this world, that's true. This is where I get my sovereign citizen stuff a bit. I think that there actually is like legitimate bedrock rights that are can be violated, but not without karmic action against the person that violates them. But as long as you're operating in the world of the body politic, that's true. And it's a nonsensical statement. And people are like, well, you know, but at the very least, maybe you could just take it, but you wouldn't want to because you wouldn't want to make your allies upset. Europe gives us nothing, basically. Europe gives us nothing. I know that's upsetting for people in Europe to hear, but we did not need Europe. There's no, it's that meme, the USA technology, USA innovation, and we have like this super NVIDIA chip that does all the magic stuff and makes AI, and we catch rockets out of the sky and make dancing robots. And Europe is like, here's a plastic bottle, and the cap doesn't come off. It's like they're wearing a dunce hat. Nothing interesting. They have no children. They have no religion. They have no faith. They have no military. They don't even have their own currencies. What are you going to give us? You're going to give us a bunch of Muslims? They'll probably be better than what you're doing. I mean, all you've got is an influx of Muslims. That's all that's happened there in the past 20 years. That's it. You haven't done anything. You've done nothing. Europe has done almost nothing, right? And I know that's upsetting for people in Europe to hear, but it's true. You don't have a single tech sector. None. All of the tech, everything computer has been made in Silicon Valley. Everything computer. You've had 60 years to do something, but you did nothing. You did no computer, right? Nothing. France is the only exception. France has a little bit of military. They have a pretty good military, not where they should. And they have done some stuff in aerospace, and they at least there's a little bit of joie de vivre left in France. But in the rest of Europe, not really. It's kind of dead. And all they do is talk about their pensions, and they talk. If you watch them, they talk about America. Number one, if you watch European news, they talk about America and they talk about how they're going to give their pensions and their various benefits to the government. That's it. It's just a completely everyone there. Even if you're a baby, you're already old. You're already talking about retirement, and you're 19. It's so all they do. They go around to the cafes, and there's no life force there. It's an old place, and it's done. Eventually, it will just become Epcot. Disney will own it, and instead of going to Epcot, where you go around to the little country stands, they will just say, "We'll do it for real," and everything will have a Disney ears on the. We'll have Disney ears on the Louvre, and we'll have Disney ears on St. Peter's, or Mickey ears. And you just go around and you pretend like you're in these places that are real, but they're just owned by Disney. That's what's going to happen. That's already kind of what they are. It's just a place for Americans to go on vacation and pretend that they live in like a princess world. They go to Neuschwanstein and look at the castle and go, "Ooh, look at me." Or they go to Vienna and they do the little boat, and that's all there is to do. It's very beautiful. The people that built it long ago had faith, and they had something they cared about, and they built a beautiful place. But now you just put on the boat, and then that's it. You can get a prostitute, I guess. There's nothing else there. Baguette, prostitute, boat. That's all you can do. Not America. America has Jesus barns, and they got something going on. And I think maybe that's why. That's why we're going to get Greenland. I know. Not even the thing people don't realize is that it is not simply Trump that wants Greenland. The U.S. military, I have it on fairly good authority from people I know in the military, has wanted Greenland outright for a while. They've known that we put all the bases on there, and they say, "Listen, this is something we need." Go ahead, Cavi.
Yeah, it's a very strategic place if you're trying to block any sort of attack from Russia.
Yeah, or even China, it's they want it. They're probably going to get it. Little remarked upon, Cavi. When was the last time, do you know, that the U.S. expanded its borders?
Expanded the borders?
Yeah.
No. Long time ago. Probably
Take
like in the 1800s, expanding out west, I guess.
December 2023. December 2023.
This year?
No, well, this year is 2026 now, but December 2023.
Oh, my brain's not working.
That's okay. December 2023 was when we did that. Under Biden, a very allegedly leftist president. Like, again, who is gay? Who is gay? Right? Obama deported a lot more people and Biden expanded the country in it. Who is gay? Whose side are you on? No, in December 2023, the U.S. declared. Now, it did this via international treaties and it like measuring stuff, but still, it had a vested interest in doing this, that its borders around Alaska extended way farther out into the ocean than it previously took ownership of. So it wasn't a landmass. However, if you can look it up online, the amount of territory was gained is about the size of 2 Californias. It's the largest thing that we've done in a long time. And what they did was they said, well, listen, all this like northern Arctic Sea stuff, that's ours now. And for like way farther than we've currently claimed. So hundreds of miles beyond where we used to consider our waters, that's our waters too. The U.S. as an entity has a vested interest in expanding northward. And again, 11-year-old children will break out in song, humming the national anthem and swinging their shirts around. And that's true in Congress too. It doesn't matter if they're left or right. They're going to do what the military wants. And so a leftist, if Donald Trump doesn't get it, the next president, if they are a Democrat, will probably get it, but they'll just talk a lot nicer about it. They'll be like, well, they'll have some reason and they'll it'll sound a lot better, but it'll still be done. And I think people just need to prepare for that because it is not something that even just Trump wants. I mean, he would like to be the guy to accomplish it but it's something that no one ever votes against a war. It doesn't happen. Anytime any military action has ever come up, it's like 98% of all the votes are yes in Congress. Do it. Good. The only time they ever praise Trump is when he bombs somebody. That's it. They love it, right? America. So this is probably going to happen. Not because it's not an issue that's going to go away when Trump leaves office. It's something that people are going to want for a long time, because this is, I mean, they're not lying when they say this is a matter of national security. If you want to stop missiles fired from the sea or across the ocean from Russia and so forth coming into Canada, Europe, or the northern bits of the United States, this is the ideal location to have it. So they're going to take it. That's what's going to happen. Denmark would be wise. Again, I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying that your paper's not going to stop it. Your paper's not going to stop it. And Denmark would be wise to make a deal while they have the ability to make a deal, because this is probably just going to happen. Will that? I hope that eventually, my hope is that once Canada's surrounded, Canada will feel the pressure and also join, because I would like Cavi to be a fellow American. He may not, but it would be nice. We could I don't know what that would do. He'd still be very far away physically. But I don't know. I need to come to Canada and we need to do a show live at some point.
Sounds good.
How do you feel about being an American?
I kind of like being Canadian, but at the same time, it would be nice to have a proper constitution with proper rights.
Right. We give the Greenlanders a proper constitution.
Because that's something most people probably don't know about Canada is you have the Constitution and you have all of those amendments. We have something called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which I believe came from Justin Trudeau's official father on paper, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, not necessarily his biological father.
Right.
But that whole thing, it's got all of your rights. Like, you have free speech, you have the rights to a speedy trial, you have the rights against unreasonable search and seizure, and the rights to not incriminate yourself. But every single one of those rights basically has an asterisk by it, which says something like "as reasonably interpreted." So
Right.
A judge can just be like, "Yeah, you got free speech, but I don't think what you said was reasonable, and now you're going to jail." So it's kind of pointless.
Right. And we would give Cavi that. I want to liberate Canada. I don't know. It's just a thing.
I want to be able to say the N-word and not have it be a hate crime.
Yeah. Yes. But we need to liberate Canada, and again, Tanny, yes, this is a brainwashed person. But we do need to liberate Canada, and we need to liberate Greenland, and everyone needs liberation. And I don't know, at the end of it, after the dust is settled and we've done all of the things and we've shot who needs to be shot, we'll figure out who's gay. Maybe it's you. Until next time, everybody, I'm going to play us out. I'm going to play us out on this lovely gift that was given to me. Let's play some Elvis. Why men say, who is gay? Only fools rush in. But I can't help taking over Greenland for you. Until next time, everyone, peace out. Everyone, remember to sign up for Patreon, Gumroad, or the Substack, which will be in the links below. It will help us so much. Cavi has mouths to feed. He will die if you don't do it. He's so cold up there in the north. He needs food and blankets. Please contribute. Help us out by becoming a paid supporter. It does so much for the world.